In your experience working under the former president, do you feel that he is capable of doing what he's accused of, sharing the classified information with others, lying about their whereabouts? Do you feel he is guilty here?
Again, I don't think he's guilty. I think everybody's entitled to their own defense. I still want to see what the documents are. And I think that's one of the things that it's the gray area right now. You ask me, is he capable of showing them to people? Yes. Is he capable of showing them to foreign nationals? Is he capable of selling them? No, I don't really think so. I think this was all about ego. It wasn't about making money. It wasn't about hurting America. And that's one of the reasons I think this case is, well, legally, apparently very strong. And I used to practice law. I look at this thing and go, my goodness, they got this guy dead to rights. Politically, it's still very weak because there doesn't appear to be any damage to the country. And you can expect Trump to play heavily on that theme, which is that, OK, there may be a technical infraction here, but who's hurt? The nation wasn't hurt. The Chinese didn't get this. The Russians didn't get this. I didn't sell this to anybody. The Saudis didn't get this. You can expect that to be part of his narrative going forward. Maybe I broke the law technically, but there's really no harm to it. So why are they trying to put me in jail?
So in the end, you don't believe there was any credible threat to national security coming out of this?
I just don't see any yet. There's only been two. If you read the indictment, and I have, there's only two specified examples of him showing the document to people who don't have security clearances, and that would be a violation of law. But they're all staffers. They're folks who work for him. It's not foreign leaders. It's not, foreign spies. The press is quick to point out this is the Espionage Act, and that's right. That is the name of the act, but there's no real act of espionage here. He didn't give any information to a foreign power, to our competitors, to our enemies, and so forth. Again, it's a technical violation of the law, and he's in real trouble legally. But I think one of the reasons you're going to see him continue to try and make hay politically is that fact that there's really no harm here that we see yet. It'd be interesting to see if something changes during the trial. Something
we're tracking tonight, there are some Republicans, including fellow presidential candidate Asa Hutchinson, that they're saying that Trump should drop out of the race following these charges. Trump, of course, today said that he won't drop out, even if he's convicted. Do you think that Trump should drop out?
No, I don't think he's going to. It doesn't make any difference. I didn't think he should run in the first place because I think he's going to lose. I think he'll win the Republican nomination and then lose to Joe Biden or whoever else the Democrats put up, because enough of the country has made up their mind that they're never voting for Donald Trump again. He lost in 2020, and he's not done anything to change people's minds who didn't vote for him in 2020. In fact, he's probably turned off enough voters who did vote for him in 2020 to do even worse in 2024. That's why I want to see him not in the race. But to say, look, you shouldn't run because of these charges, to suggest that is just to completely misunderstand and not know Donald Trump.
You also say that this shows his legal team has been a train wreck, also that he's essentially surrounded by yes men. Can you explain more about that?
Yeah, he said something earlier this week, and I see examples of this. As the former chief of staff, the president asked me one time, Nick, what is your job? And I said, Mr. President, I'm the only person around here who gets paid to tell you what you don't want to hear. And so when I see that not happening in his business life, his career now, it sort of stands out to me. And earlier this week, I guess it was Thursday night, he went out and tweeted and actually said to the press that no one has told him that he's going to get indicted. I believe that. I believe that no one had the nerve to tell him Thursday that he was going to get indicted on Friday. And that's indicative to me that he's continued to surround himself with people who won't tell him what he doesn't want to hear. That is a formula for failure. In fact, you have to wonder if he'd had a better legal team during the course of these document issues, if they had said, Mr. President, no, you have to give this stuff back. I'm sorry, I know you don't want to hear that, but if you don't give this stuff back, you could go to jail. Apparently, no one ever told him that. So it's still the president's fault. It's still Trump's fault. We're always responsible for the quality of the people that we surround ourselves with. But I look at this as just another example of the team around Trump being substandard at best.
Trump expected to speak any minute now, and we're keeping a close eye on the live box that's at the bottom of the viewer screen right now. But knowing Trump as well as you do, what do you expect that he will likely say about this tonight? And what would you advise him to say? What do you wish that he would say instead?
I wish he'd shut up. And that's not the first time I would have given that advice, simply because he's now indicted. I mean, he knows he's an indicted individual. There's going to be a trial, and he's likely to say something tonight that could hurt him in the trial. This is how I'd put it to him. Mr. President, there is nothing you can say tonight that will help you legally. Let's worry about the politics after we put the legal stuff behind us. There is a chance you could say something tonight that could hurt you legally. Okay? You can't help yourself. You can't hurt yourself. That's a really good time to be quiet, but he's not capable of doing that.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.